The stars over Earth had never looked so cold. From orbit, the blue planet gleamed like a jewel. But beneath that beauty, fear festered. Humanity had faced threats before, but nothing like this. The Zytherians, an alien force unmatched in technology and cunning, had come from the edge of the galaxy. Their motives unknown, their power undeniable. For months, Earth's fleets had clashed with them, fighting a desperate war to protect the home planet. And now, everything was falling apart. Lieutenant Arya Voss watched the holographic display of Earth's orbital defenses, her fingers hovering over the control panel without touching it. Red dots multiplied on the screen, representing the ships of her squadron, each one lost in the blink of an eye. The Zytherians had adapted faster than anyone had expected. Every tactic, every maneuver, every formation that had once given humans hope now ended in destruction. She swallowed hard, refusing to let the fear show on her face. Around her, her fellow officers shifted nervously, their eyes darting between the screen and the communication panel. "Command to all surviving units," came the voice of Admiral Kor, steady but grim. "Retreat to the secondary orbital station. Repeat, retreat to the secondary orbital station. Do not engage unless you have a clear advantage." Arya clenched her jaw. Retreat was not defeat, she told herself, but it felt like it. One by one, her comrades confirmed the message, each transmission a reminder of how small and fragile humanity had become in the vastness of space. Even the most skilled pilots, those celebrated for daring maneuvers and impossible missions, had fallen. The captain of her squadron, Commander Rahl, approached her with heavy steps. "Lieutenant," he said, voice low, "the fleet is gone. Nearly all of it. We might be the only ones left up here." Arya shook her head slowly. "We're not done. Not yet. There's still something they haven't considered." Rahl frowned. "What could that be?" "They outnumber us 10 to 1. Their ships are faster, stronger, better armed. What do we have? Human ingenuity," she said, her voice firm. "They plan like machines, following patterns, expecting predictable responses. That's our advantage. They don't see creativity as a threat. We do." Rahl studied her, uncertainty in his eyes. "And how do you plan to prove that? With what remains of our fighters?" Arya's eyes narrowed on the holographic display. She had been analyzing the Zytherian attacks for days, studying every detail of their approach, their formation changes, and the way they communicated. Even in their apparent perfection, there were flaws, small windows of vulnerability, moments when their confidence in their superiority made them careless. "We start small," she said. "A single squad. A single strike. If we succeed, even slightly, it will show them we're not helpless. And it will show Earth that hope isn't dead." Commander Rahl hesitated, then nodded slowly. "Very well. But you know the risks." "I do," Arya replied. "And so do they." The preparations took hours, though it felt like days. The remaining fighters were stripped down, every unnecessary system removed to make them lighter, faster, more maneuverable. Arya and a small team of engineers worked tirelessly, attaching scavenged components from destroyed ships, improvising new modules that might give them an edge. They called them shadow drones, small, agile craft equipped with rudimentary cloaking and autonomous targeting systems. Not nearly as advanced as the Zytherian ships, but clever in ways the aliens did not anticipate. As they tested the drones, Arya felt a flicker of excitement she hadn't experienced since the war began. She watched them dart through simulated asteroid fields, weaving in unpredictable patterns, disappearing from sensors only to reappear where the aliens would least expect them. Each success fueled a hope that had been dormant for too long. When the fleet finally gathered for the mission, only a handful of ships remained. They were the last chance to strike at a Zytherian supply convoy. A target chosen not for glory, but to prove that humans could fight back. The convoy was lightly defended compared to the main fleet, and it was carrying essential energy cores back to the Zytherian mothership. A successful raid could slow the enemy's advance and, more importantly, Send a message. Humanity had not surrendered. Arya climbed into the cockpit of her fighter, the metal frame rattling slightly under her hands. Her co-pilot, Ensign Dara, a young pilot with a determined look, adjusted the controls. "Are we really going to pull this off?" Dara asked, voice tinged with anxiety. "We have to," Arya replied. "Remember what they think of us. They believe we are predictable. Let's show them we are not." The fighters slipped from the orbital station into the void, each ship a fragile spark against the endless darkness. The Zytherian convoy appeared as a series of glowing silhouettes, sleek and imposing. Their sensors immediately detected the human ships, and alarms flashed across their hulls. But the aliens moved with confidence, assuming the humans would scatter or be destroyed without thought. Arya signaled the drones. They shot forward, weaving unpredictably, disappearing from the convoy's sensors and striking the supply vessels with precise, calculated attacks. Explosions rocked the convoy, and the Scytherians scrambled to respond. They adapted too slowly. "Look at them," Dara whispered, awe in her voice. "They're falling apart." "Stay focused," Arya said. "One more strike." The human squadron pressed the attack, using every trick they had learned from simulations and experience. Every movement, every feint, every decoy was carefully planned. And yet, in the chaos, they adapted on the fly, improvising when the unexpected happened. The convoy was crippled, and several supply ships were destroyed. For the first time in months, the humans tasted victory, but victory was not without cost. Several fighters were lost, including one carrying a close friend of Arya's. The loss weighed heavily on her, but she did not allow grief to cloud her focus. The mission's success had proved the point. Humanity could fight back, even when the odds seemed impossible. When the survivors returned to the orbital station, the crew erupted in cautious celebration. Messages of encouragement and renewed morale began to flow from Earth, inspiring engineers, scientists, and civilians alike. Humans began to work together in ways they never had before, innovating, building, and supporting one another. Every small victory reminded them that the Zytherians, though powerful, were not invincible. Admiral Kor met with Arya in the command center, his expression a mixture of relief and amazement. "Lieutenant, that was remarkable. You've given humanity hope again. I don't think you realize what this means to the people on Earth." "I do," Arya said quietly. "And we can do more. We must. If we don't fight, we'll lose everything. But if we keep adapting, thinking, and working together, we can survive, and maybe even win." The Admiral nodded, a small smile breaking through his usual stoic demeanor. "Then, let's make sure we give them every chance to win." As Arya left the command center, she looked out at the stars once more. The void was still dark, the threat of the Zytherians looming over every planet and station, but humanity had proven something vital. They were resourceful, brave, and unpredictable. They had fallen before, but they had risen again, and as long as humans could rise, hope would never truly die. Outside, the wreckage of the destroyed fighters floated silently in space. To some, it was a grim reminder of loss. To Arya, it was a testament to resilience. Each ship, each life, each sacrifice had contributed to a lesson the Zytherians would soon learn. Humans, even at their weakest, were never truly helpless. In the coming days, humanity would need to rebuild, innovate, and prepare for the battles ahead. But tonight, as Earth rotated below and the first hints of sunrise touched the horizon, Lieutenant Arya Voss allowed herself a small smile. They had lost much, but they had not lost everything, and in that small truth lay the spark that could one day ignite a revolution among the stars. The victory in the convoy raid spread across Earth like wildfire. Though small, it had reminded humanity of something they had almost forgotten. They could fight back. People everywhere whispered about the courage of Lieutenant Arya Voss and her squadron. Engineers and scientists scoured wreckage from destroyed fighters, searching for ways to improve their technology. Civilians volunteered for research, building, and support roles. Humanity was rising from the ashes, more determined than ever. In orbit, Arya walked the corridors of the orbital station, observing the frantic activity around her. Every bay, every workshop, and every command center buzzed with energy. Drones were being repaired and upgraded, new fighters modified with scavenged alien components, and every officer was sharing ideas for new strategies. It was chaos, yet it was organized chaos, powered by determination and ingenuity. Arya paused outside the engineering bay. Inside, a group of young engineers huddled around a table, examining a small drone that looked more like a patchwork of metal and wires than a fighter. The device had been pulled from the wreckage of a destroyed ship and upgraded with human ingenuity. Tiny thrusters allowed it to move unpredictably, and a rudimentary cloaking module could make it vanish from sensors for brief moments. "This is brilliant," Arya said, entering the bay. "How long before it's ready for field testing?" One of the engineers, a young woman named Tessa, looked up with wide eyes. "We've tested the maneuvering thrusters. It can dodge incoming fire better than anything we've built before. The cloaking module still needs refinement, but we think it can trick the Zetherian sensors for a few crucial seconds." Arya smiled. "Seconds can be enough. Every second we can confuse them is another second we gain to strike." Meanwhile, the Zetherians had retreated after the failed convoy raid, their pride wounded. They did not understand the humans' resilience or their creativity. To the aliens, humans were supposed to be predictable, easy to anticipate, and easy to destroy. But humans did not follow patterns. Humans adapted. Humans thought in ways the aliens could not. Back on Earth, political leaders and military officials met in emergency councils. The message from the orbital station had reached the planet. Humans were not done. Engineers, scientists, and pilots were summoned to brainstorm, plan, and execute the next stage of resistance. Humanity was mobilizing not just to survive, but to fight back with strategy, intelligence, and innovation. Arya and her small squadron were assigned to lead a series of small, tactical strikes against the Zetherians' supply routes. Every mission was dangerous. Every mission was a chance for death. And yet, every mission was also a chance to prove that humans were not broken. On the third mission, Arya's squad was tasked with disabling a communication relay the aliens used to coordinate their fleets. If the relay could be destroyed, even temporarily, it would slow down the enemy's operations and create opportunities for human strikes elsewhere. The approach to the relay was tense. The squadron moved in small groups, using asteroid fields and debris to hide their approach. The Zetherians had sensors everywhere, yet the unpredictability of human flight patterns gave the humans a critical advantage. Arya's fighter cut through the void like a silver shadow. She guided her drones forward, weaving them between rocky outcrops to avoid detection. Moments later, the relay tower appeared, a massive structure suspended in orbit, bristling with energy shields and defenses. "Stay sharp," Arya said through the comm. "We only have one chance." The squad split into two groups. One team, including Arya, would approach the relay directly, while the other would create a diversion. The Zetherians detected the second group immediately and fired, but their attention on the decoy allowed Arya and her drones to get close. The drones activated their cloaking modules, vanishing from the alien sensors for crucial seconds. They darted around the relay's defenses, planting small, improvised explosives that would disrupt the energy core without destroying the entire station. Precision was critical. One wrong move, and the entire mission would fail. "Almost there," Arya whispered, guiding the final drone into position. The countdown began. The Zetherians were already recalculating, trying to respond, but it was too late. The explosives detonated, sending a pulse through the relay that disabled it temporarily. Communication lines went dark, and the aliens' coordination faltered. The squadron retreated into the asteroid field, narrowly avoiding incoming fire. When they returned to the orbital station, the crew cheered, not just for the success of the mission, but for what it represented. Humans had found their rhythm. They were no longer just defenders reacting to alien attacks. They were innovators, striking with purpose and cunning. Days turned into weeks, and humanity's efforts began to take shape into a broader strategy. Engineers improved the drones, pilots mastered evasive maneuvers, and scientists began analyzing the aliens' technology for weaknesses. Civilians contributed by developing new materials, testing engines, and constructing equipment that would enhance human capabilities. Arya spent long hours in the strategy room, planning each mission with meticulous care. Every raid, every strike, and every maneuver was designed not just to inflict damage, but to teach humans and aliens alike a lesson. Underestimating humanity was a grave mistake. During one planning session, Arya's assistant, a young officer named Rin, pointed to a holographic map of the Scytherian fleet. "We've noticed patterns in their retreat," Rin said. "They always pull back in the same formation, assuming we will not pursue them. That could give us an opening for a larger strike if we can predict it." Arya nodded, eyes sharp. "Exactly. They think like machines. We think like humans. We use imagination, intuition, and unpredictability. That's our advantage. And it's one they will never anticipate." The first strike using this knowledge was small but significant. Human forces infiltrated an alien outpost, sabotaging energy systems, and stealing vital intelligence. It was a success, executed with precision and daring, demonstrating that even small teams of humans could challenge a superior enemy. Word of these victories reached Earth, bolstering morale and inspiring a surge of support for the war effort. People began volunteering in record numbers, and global cooperation strengthened as humanity united against a common threat. Every human contribution mattered, whether in orbit, on the ground, or behind a console, thousands of kilometers away. The Zetherians, however, were not idle. They began analyzing the humans' tactics, attempting to adapt to their unpredictability. But the more the aliens tried to anticipate human behavior, the more humans evolved. Each engagement taught humans new strategies, refined their improvisation skills, and strengthened their determination. Arya understood that the war was no longer just about survival. It was about proving something fundamental. Humanity could rise above limitations, defy expectations, and achieve greatness even in the darkest hours. Every mission, every raid, every risk taken was a step toward a future where humans could stand as equals, not as prey. One evening, after a particularly grueling mission, Arya walked along the observation deck, looking at Earth below. Cities sparkled in the fading light of the sun, and she could see the effects of the war even from space-darkened regions. Signs of damage and evacuation zones. Yet life endured. Humanity endured. She felt a surge of pride, tempered with determination. The Zetherians may have been stronger, faster, and more numerous, but humans had something far greater: spirit, ingenuity, and courage. Every loss had been a lesson, every setback a challenge to overcome. In the command center, Arya gathered her squad for a briefing. "The Zetherians believe they have broken us," she said, her voice steady. "They think our fleet is too small, our resources too limited, our creativity too simple. They are wrong. We will continue to strike, to innovate, and to fight with every advantage we can find. They will learn that humans are never predictable, never powerless, and never finished." The squad nodded in unison, their resolve firm. They were a small team against a vast enemy, but their courage and ingenuity made them dangerous. And in this war, danger could be enough to tip the balance. As the orbital station rotated silently above Earth, Arya plotted the next phase of the campaign. She envisioned fleets of drones, improvised fighters, and human ingenuity operating as one, striking with precision and unpredictability. Each mission would be more daring, each strategy more creative, and each human contribution more critical. The Zetherians may have believed hope was dead after the fall of the fighters, but humanity had proved otherwise. Hope was alive, burning brightly in the hearts of those who refused to surrender. It was a quiet, unyielding flame, fed by courage, innovation, and determination. And as long as that flame burned, humanity would continue to rise, proving that even in the darkest hours, they were never truly defeated. The war was far from over, but humans had taken the first steps toward reclaiming the stars. And for Lieutenant Arya Voss and her team, the fight had only just begun. The Zetherians had returned. Their fleet loomed above Earth like a dark storm, vast and relentless. The humans had spent weeks preparing, learning, adapting, and innovating. But the enemy's power was undeniable. The orbital defenses were reinforced, fleets positioned in strategic formations, and every pilot, engineer, and officer knew the stakes. The war had reached a tipping point. Lieutenant Arya Voss stood on the bridge of the orbital station, watching the approaching alien ships. Her squadron of improvised fighters and drones was ready. Every ship a testament to human ingenuity. For the first time, she felt the weight of responsibility pressing on her shoulders. This was no longer about small raids or testing tactics, it was the battle that would determine whether Earth survived or fell. "Lieutenant," Commander Rahl said, coming up beside her. "They're larger than we estimated. Sensors indicate at least 5 times our fleet size. And their capital ships—" He stopped, shaking his head. "They're overwhelming." Arya's gaze remained steady. "We've survived worse. They think they know what we'll do. They've adapted to our smaller raids, but they can't predict human unpredictability. That's what will win this fight." The pilots and engineers in the command center nodded, their determination mirrored in her own. Humans were not machines. They thought differently. They improvised, adapted, and acted on intuition. And intuition was something no alien algorithm could anticipate. The Zetherians struck first. Waves of sleek, deadly fighters descended on the human positions, aiming to annihilate the orbital defense stations. Explosions rippled across the station's shields as laser fire tore through the void. For a moment, panic flickered in the eyes of some young pilots, but Arya's calm presence steadied them. "Remember your training, but don't rely on it completely," she said over the comm. "Think. Adapt. Surprise them." Her squadron moved with precision, yet with a freedom that surprised the aliens. They dodged in unexpected patterns, split and reformed, and used the debris of destroyed ships as cover. The human drones, once considered fragile and experimental, proved invaluable. They darted in and out of the Zetherian sensors' reach, striking at weak points and confusing the enemy's coordination. The battle raged for hours. The Zetherians unleashed their full arsenal, including energy cannons capable of cutting through a fighter in seconds, and missiles designed to track every possible escape route. But humans had prepared. Improvised shielding, agile maneuvers, and small teams acting independently made it nearly impossible for the aliens to achieve decisive victories. At one point, a massive alien ship, larger than any the humans had seen, attempted to break through the defenses. It moved with terrifying precision, firing in arcs that obliterated smaller craft. Arya watched as her squadron struggled against its firepower. She realized a direct attack was impossible. The humans needed a different approach. "Divert all drones and fighters to flank from the asteroid belt," she commanded. "We'll lure it into a trap. Focus on its blind spots. We don't need to destroy it. We need to disable its systems." Her team executed the plan flawlessly. Drones acted as decoys, drawing the alien ship's attention, while human fighters circled unseen, exploiting the blind zones of the massive vessel. Improvised EMP devices, developed by engineers during long nights of experimentation, struck the alien hull, causing critical systems to malfunction. The massive ship slowed, fumbling in space as human ingenuity disrupted its operations. Even with the massive alien ship neutralized, the battle was far from over. Swarms of fighters continued to attack, each wave more desperate than the last. Human pilots adapted quickly, using formations that were impossible to predict and tactics learned from previous raids. Every success inspired the humans, strengthening their resolve and shaking the confidence of the Zetherians. During the heat of the fight, Arya noticed something extraordinary. The Zetherians, for the first time, were acting cautiously. Their precise, machine-like confidence faltered. They were confused by the humans' unpredictability, forced to pause and recalculate. It was a moment humans had been waiting for the opportunity to turn the tide. Now, Arya shouted. Push forward. Hit their command ships. Show them humans are not to be underestimated. Her squadron surged toward the alien command vessels. Using improvised shields and precise timing, they struck the ships in critical areas, disabling communication arrays, weapon control systems, and propulsion modules. One by one, the massive vessels faltered, unable to coordinate their forces. Confusion rippled through the Zetherian fleet. On Earth, people watched in awe as reports of the battle reached the planet. Screens flickered with images of daring human pilots maneuvering in ways thought impossible. Ordinary citizens, engineers, and scientists contributed every day to the war effort, proving that victory was not solely in the hands of trained soldiers. Humanity was fighting as a single organism, united in ingenuity and determination. Amid the chaos, Arya's fighter was struck by debris from a destroyed alien craft. Alarms blared, and the cockpit shook violently. Dara, her co-pilot, struggled to stabilize the controls. "We're hit," Dara shouted. "Keep us steady," Arya barked. "We're almost at the command vessel." With careful maneuvering and quick thinking, Arya guided their fighter through the debris, using the ship's damaged systems to their advantage. The alien command vessel's weak points came into view, and Arya deployed the final set of EMP drones. The effect was immediate. The ship's systems failed, lights went dark, and its weapons went offline. The Zetherian fleet faltered further. Without leadership, their attacks became disorganized, and human forces pressed the advantage. Small ships, drones, and even improvised devices struck in coordinated chaos that the aliens could not predict. For the first time, humans had forced a retreat. As the remaining Zetherian fighters withdrew, the orbital station erupted in cheers. Humans had survived the impossible and inflicted significant damage on the enemy. Arya and her squad returned, battered but victorious, greeted as heroes. Commander Rahl clasped her shoulder. "Lieutenant, I don't know how you did it. You've done what no one thought possible. Humanity has turned the tide." Arya shook her head. "We didn't do it alone. Every engineer, every pilot, every civilian who contributed this victory belongs to all of them. We've learned something vital today. Humans are not just survivors. We are thinkers, innovators, and fighters. And we are far from done." The aftermath of the battle left the Zetherians shaken. For the first time, they had faced a species that refused to act predictably, a species that adapted and innovated under pressure. They retreated to regroup, knowing that future encounters would be far more dangerous. Humanity had sent a clear message. They could not be underestimated. In the command center, Arya studied the battle reports. Casualties were heavy, and losses of fighters weighed heavily on her heart. But the data also revealed a critical truth. Human ingenuity had overcome technological superiority. Patterns in alien behavior had been identified and exploited, weaknesses discovered and attacked, and morale had been renewed. "Lieutenant," Rin said, pointing to the display, "these systems we disabled, the Zetherians will be forced to redesign them, and every change will give us new opportunities. We can predict, adapt, and innovate faster than they can." Arya nodded. "Exactly. This battle is only the beginning. We've proven something crucial today. Humans are never predictable, never powerless, and never finished. We will continue to learn, adapt, and strike until every Zetherian ship that threatens Earth knows that humans cannot be defeated so easily." That night, Arya walked along the observation deck, looking at the planet below. Cities glowed with life, people rebuilding, preparing, and continuing the fight in whatever way they could. Humanity had survived the storm of alien fire and had inflicted a blow that no one had thought possible. She thought of the sacrifices made the pilots lost, the engineers who worked tirelessly, the civilians who contributed to the war effort. Every loss had been a lesson, every risk a step toward proving humanity's strength, and through it all, hope burned brighter than ever. In the vastness of space, among the wreckage of destroyed ships and the remnants of alien power, Arya realized something profound. Humans were not the strongest species in the galaxy, not the fastest or the most technologically advanced, but humans were unpredictable, courageous, and ingenious. Humans were capable of rising when hope seemed lost, of creating opportunities from despair, and of defying expectations in ways that no alien force could calculate. The war was far from over. The Scytherians would return, stronger and wiser, determined to crush humanity once and for all. But so too would humans, armed with experience, creativity, and the knowledge that together they could face any threat. Arya turned back to the command center, her mind already racing with new strategies. There would be more battles, more challenges, and more moments when survival seemed impossible. But humanity had learned a crucial truth. They could survive, fight, and thrive against even the most overwhelming odds, and that truth would guide every decision, every mission, and every innovation from this day forward. As the orbital station rotated silently above Earth, stars twinkling in the distance, Lieutenant Arya Voss felt a quiet confidence. Humans had turned the tide in a battle that should have been lost. They had shown courage where fear threatened to dominate, and ingenuity where defeat seemed certain. And though the future was uncertain, one thing was clear. Humanity was far from finished. The Scytherians had retreated, but their threat still hung over Earth, like a shadow. Humanity's orbital defenses were damaged, resources were stretched thin, and the losses from previous battles weighed heavily on everyone. Yet despite the fear and exhaustion, the people of Earth refused to surrender. Every city, every laboratory, every workshop contributed to rebuilding the fleet, repairing stations, and preparing for the inevitable return of the alien force. Lieutenant Arya Voss stood in the command center of the orbital station, surrounded by pilots, engineers, and strategists. The room buzzed with activity. Screens displayed ship positions, schematics of new drones, and simulations of potential battles. It was organized chaos, a reflection of humanity's spirit, unpredictable, determined, and relentless. Arya looked at the new fleet of fighters. They were smaller, faster, and more versatile than any human ships had ever been. Some were patched together from scavenged Scytherian technology, others from pure human ingenuity. Each vessel represented countless hours of work, sacrifice, and innovation. Every engineer, every scientist, every civilian who had contributed felt represented in those ships. They were humanity's collective effort, given form. Commander Rahl approached, his expression serious but filled with quiet pride. The Scytherians are massing their forces near the outer planets. Estimates suggest they're preparing a full-scale invasion. We'll face their main fleet if we engage. Arya nodded, her jaw firm. Then we fight smart, not just hard. We'll use every advantage we've discovered. Their overconfidence is our ally. They still think humans are predictable, but we've shown them they are wrong. We will continue to prove it. The fleet launched into space, a constellation of human determination against the vastness of the galaxy. As they moved toward the enemy, simulations and experience guided every maneuver. Drones scouted ahead, agile and unpredictable, while fighters stayed in formations that could adapt on the fly. Every decision, every action, was informed by weeks of trial, error, and ingenuity. The first wave of Scytherian ships met them in open space. Unlike previous battles, the humans were prepared. Drones acted as decoys, drawing fire away from larger ships. Fighters darted through blind spots, striking at weapon systems and energy cores with precision. The Scytherians fired relentlessly, but the humans moved with a fluid unpredictability that even the most advanced sensors struggled to track. Arya's voice rang over the comm. Focus on their command vessels. Disable their coordination, and the rest will falter. Stay adaptable. Trust your instincts. The battle intensified. Explosions lit the void, sending shockwaves through space. Some fighters were lost, and human casualties were high, but the tactics that once seemed impossible were proving effective. The Zetherians struggled to maintain formation. Their capital ships could no longer coordinate attacks, leaving them vulnerable to targeted strikes. Arya's squadron moved through the chaos like shadows. They exploited every weakness, used every trick, and adapted to every unexpected move. Small drones infiltrated massive ships, delivering EMP pulses that crippled engines and disrupted weapon systems. Fighters executed maneuvers that defied conventional tactics, confusing the enemy and buying precious time for other human forces to strike. In the center of the battle, Arya identified the largest Zytherian ship, a colossal vessel, bristling with weapons and shields. It was the heart of the enemy fleet, and if it could be disabled, the rest of the alien force would be thrown into disarray. Dara, stay close. We're going in, Arya said, gripping the controls tightly. Dara nodded, her hands steady despite the tension. We've got this. The approach was perilous. The Zetherian ship unleashed a barrage of firepower. Yet the humans adapted with speed, unpredictability, and ingenuity. Arya guided her fighter through narrow blind spots in the ship's defense, directing drones to deliver precise EMP charges. The colossal vessel shuddered as systems failed, lights dimmed, and weapons went offline. Around them, the Zetherian fleet faltered. Without central command, their attacks became uncoordinated. Human forces pressed their advantage, striking at isolated ships and using their drones to disable engines and weapons. Each successful strike emboldened the pilots, reinforcing the truth they had long known. Humans could challenge any foe when united and resourceful. On Earth, people watched the battle unfold through communications relays. Engineers, scientists, and civilians cheered for the pilots and crews in space. Humanity had transformed from a species struggling to survive into one capable of shaping the battlefield with intelligence and courage. The story of the human fleet spread quickly, inspiring hope and determination in every corner of the planet. The Zytherians, disoriented and struggling, attempted a counterattack, but the humans had anticipated their moves. Using data from previous engagements, they executed a series of coordinated strikes that exploited every weakness. The enemy ships faltered one by one, shields collapsed, engines failed, and weapons fell silent. The tide of the battle had shifted decisively. Amid the chaos, Arya's fighter was struck by debris from a destroyed alien vessel. Alarms blared, and the cockpit shook violently. Dara adjusted the controls, keeping the ship steady. We're taking damage. Focus on the target, Arya commanded. We're almost there. The colossal Zytherian ship shuddered under the impact of human drones and fighter strikes. Arya deployed the final EMP pulse, targeting the ship's core systems. The effect was immediate. The vessel went dark, immobilized, and utterly vulnerable. With the central command disabled, the remaining Zytherian ships retreated in disarray, leaving the humans in control of the battlefield. The orbital station erupted in celebration. Humans had achieved the impossible. Against overwhelming odds, they had not only survived but had delivered a decisive blow to the enemy. Humanity's ingenuity, courage, and adaptability had turned the tide. Commander Rahl clasped Arya's shoulder. You've done it, Lieutenant. Humanity has proven itself in a way the galaxy will never forget. Arya shook her head, smiling quietly. We did it together. Every engineer, every pilot, every civilian contributed to this victory. Humanity isn't just surviving. We're showing the galaxy who we are. As the Zytherians retreated to regroup, Arya looked at the battlefield, littered with wreckage but also marked by human resilience. Each ship destroyed, each mission accomplished, was a testament to what could be achieved when a species refused to surrender. Earth began the process of rebuilding once again, this time with renewed confidence. Engineers and scientists worked tirelessly to repair and improve ships, drones, and orbital stations. Civilians contributed in countless ways. Understanding that their ingenuity and determination were as vital as any fighter pilot's skill, humanity had learned the value of unity, creativity, and courage in the face of overwhelming adversity. Arya gathered her team for a debriefing. This victory is significant, but it is not the end. The Scytherians will return, and we must be ready. Every improvement, every new tactic, every innovation matters. They will never predict what humans can do next. Her team nodded in agreement. They had seen firsthand the strength of human ingenuity and courage. They understood that survival was only the beginning. The fight for respect, recognition, and mastery of the stars had just begun. That night, Arya stood on the observation deck, looking down at Earth. Cities glimmered in the dark, evidence of life, resilience, and hope. Humanity had faced annihilation and emerged stronger, proving that even when all seemed lost, the human spirit could prevail. She thought of the pilots lost in battle, the engineers who had worked tirelessly, the civilians who had contributed in countless ways. Every sacrifice had been a lesson. Every risk, a step toward demonstrating that humans were never truly helpless. Arya understood the truth more clearly than ever. Humans were not the fastest, the strongest, or the most technologically advanced species in the galaxy, but they were unpredictable, courageous, and ingenious. They adapted when survival seemed impossible. They created opportunities from despair, and they defied expectations in ways no alien force could calculate. The war would continue. The Scytherians would regroup and return, determined to crush humanity. But humans had learned something vital. They could survive, fight, and thrive against impossible odds. They had proven that unity, creativity, and courage could overcome even the greatest threats. Arya returned to the command center, her mind already racing with strategies for the next engagement. There would be more battles, more challenges, and more moments when hope seemed lost. But humanity had discovered a powerful truth. When they worked together, adapted quickly, and trusted in their own ingenuity, they were unstoppable. Above Earth, the stars twinkled, a reminder of the vastness of space and the challenges yet to come. Yet the humans who gazed at them were no longer afraid. They had faced annihilation and emerged victorious, proving that their spirit could never be extinguished. Lieutenant Arya Voss felt a quiet confidence settle over her. Humanity had survived the impossible and had shown the galaxy its potential. They had turned fear into determination, loss into lessons, and despair into hope. And though the future was uncertain, one thing was undeniable. Humanity was not done. Humans had risen from the brink of defeat, not just to survive, but to prove that their courage, ingenuity, and spirit could shape the destiny of the stars. And as long as those qualities burned brightly, humanity's place in the galaxy was secure, unshakable, and extraordinary. Earth would rebuild, the fleet would grow stronger, and humanity would continue to fight, adapt, and rise to meet every challenge. The galaxy had witnessed the first chapters of a story it would never forget. The story of a species that refused to be defeated, that turned hopelessness into victory, and that proved, above all, that humans were unstoppable.